It's the Brad Field Weather Podcast, underwritten by McAllen Construction. McAllen Construction, from the first dig to the last nail. I am Dan Lovallo. He is meteorologist Brad Field. We are putting this podcast together on Friday, March the 22nd. And Brad, we've got a storm coming in, don't we?
Dan, we've got the second full day of spring in progress out there today, but we are watching a wintry type of storm approaching, that's for sure. It looks like it's primarily going to be a cold rainstorm for us here in Connecticut, Dan. It could start as a little bit of snow. We'll discuss that as we move along. But up into the mountains of northern Vermont, northern New Hampshire, and Maine, I'm expecting 12 to 18 inches of snow. So this is a pretty big deal. Locally, Dan, we've got a winter weather advisory up. That's for Hartford County and for Litchfield County overnight tonight through about daybreak Saturday, March 23rd. And that's in effect primarily for some slushy or slick spots on the roadways late tonight. But more importantly, Dan, we've got a flood watch in effect for Saturday and Saturday night with 2 to 3 inches of rainfall in Connecticut. So the proverbial washout is coming for the day tomorrow. 2 to 3 inches of rain during the day and during the evening on Saturday. Meanwhile, it'll be pounding snow somewhere in northern Massachusetts on up through Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. And again, as I said, Dan, perhaps on the order of 12 to 18 inches in places up there. So this is a pretty significant storm coming in, no question.
Well, that said, what does the storm track look like?
Well, it's organizing right now, Dan, as we're recording this on Friday morning at around 9 o'clock. The storm is organizing in the Gulf of Mexico, so it's got a lot of moisture to work with, and the storm is going to be moving into Mississippi this afternoon. By this evening, the storm is tracking from Alabama to, by daybreak tomorrow, interior North Carolina. From there, Dan, during the day tomorrow, it will track from interior North Carolina at daybreak to south of Long Island by Saturday evening. So while the storm is making that trek from North Carolina to Long Island, it'll be pouring rain here, and a cold rain. I'm only expecting temperatures tomorrow here to be between 40 and 45. Meanwhile, from northern Massachusetts north, temperatures will be in the 30s, and it will be snowing hard. Now, by Sunday morning, the storm will be gone. It'll be up in Nova Scotia and pulling away, but we'll have high pressure through the Great Lakes region, a brisk northeast to northerly flow in here during the day on Sunday. The weather settles down early next week, Dan. High pressure over eastern Canada, ridging through western New England, down into the Carolinas. That will be with us in the Monday and Tuesday time frame. So we'll see clearing, windy conditions on Sunday, and then the weather pattern settling down, but still chilly Monday and Tuesday of next week.
Well, I mean, this isn't unusual to get this kind of a storm. I know the calendar shows that it's springtime, but this is not unusual at all, is it?
No, not unusual at all, Dan. It's just all about the track. But the time of year, it's getting kind of late for us to get a big snowstorm here. We have to have everything go exactly right or everything go exactly wrong, however you want to look at it. I mean, you think back to that early April storm in, I believe it was 1982, where there was anywhere from 6 to 16 inches of snow across the state. Everything went exactly right or exactly wrong. And the storm came at night when you didn't have to worry about radiation and solar angles or anything like that. So it was able to readily accumulate. So you can get storms this time of year and for the next few weeks, but like I say, everything has to go a certain way for us to get big snow down here. Now, it's going to be an elevation-driven storm up in northern New England. Some of the lower spots, for example, Burlington along the banks of Lake Champlain, may not get as much. They'll get several slushy inches, but you get up in, you start going up in elevation to say like places like Sugar Bush. You're going to be up around 18 inches of snow. So it's going to be a really elevation-driven event up across northern New England, but great news for the ski areas, I think.
Now, as we put this podcast together on March the 22nd, we're about 3/4 of the way through the month of March, and I know you've got some climatology news. What can you tell us in that area?
Yeah, the important thing, Dan, the reason I looked at that was that the flood watch is up, and I'm going to give some specifics on the rainfall, but we could end up with 3 inches of rain tomorrow. We've already had 4.8 inches of rain so far this month, as opposed to what's average for the first 3 weeks of March, which is 2.62 inches. So we're already smoking that by more than 2 inches of rainfall. And if we get 3 more, we're going to be looking at more than 5 inches above normal rain. So I drive pretty much every day on my trek from East Windsor to Granby over the Connecticut River, and the river is badly swollen to begin with. I can't imagine what another 3 inches of rain is going to do. So I was looking at that for one thing. The other thing, Dan, is that the first 3 weeks of March have been ridiculously warm. I mean, we are averaging more than 8 degrees above average per day. Now, to kind of put that into perspective, what do I mean? Well, today is Friday, March 22nd. And the average high temperature for today is 49. So if we were going to average 8 degrees above average, that would mean we'd have a high today of about 57. And the normal low on this date, Dan, is 30. So the low this morning would be 38. That's what's been happening the first 3 weeks of the month of March. Now, yesterday was below average. Today will be well below average. We're not going to come anywhere near that 49-degree reading this afternoon. So we will start making a dent in these ridiculously above average temperatures, and they'll start to come back down more toward 6 or 5 or 4 degrees above normal per day as we get toward the end of the month. But right now, when you average it all out, it's been very, very warm, very, very wet. And it's going to continue the wet pattern will continue, even though it's going to be turning a lot colder.
Now, you mentioned this is going to be a heck of a storm. What are your rainfall projections?
Well, Dan, up your way, we'll use Torrington as a pivot point. I think north and west of Torrington, we're looking at 1.5 to 2 inches. I think south and east of Torrington, we're looking at 2 inches plus. So we'll say 2 to 3 inches of rainfall. And when I look at the computer modeling, Dan, it looks like the heaviest axis of the rain, in other words, 3 inches, perhaps even more of rainfall, would be on a line, say, from just north of Waterbury, so we're into southern Litchfield County, and then just the south of Hartford, so we're into southern Hartford County, and then out through southern Tolland and southern Windham counties on into Rhode Island. That looks like the axis of the heaviest rainfall, over 3 inches of rain accumulation. So again, Dan, a flood watch in effect for all of Connecticut for Saturday and Saturday night. If your basement is prone to flooding, this could be a big deal. And also, if you live along a creek or a small river, this could be a big deal as well, with rivers and creeks coming out of their banks, both for Saturday and for Saturday night.
That said, and again, we are putting this podcast together on March the 22nd. What does our immediate forecast look like?
Well, this afternoon, Dan, sunshine will fade as clouds increase. Temperatures between 40 and 45, but a pretty nice afternoon out there overall. Tonight, I'm expecting lowering and thickening clouds with a mixture. If you're going to be out around midnight or a little bit after, you're going to, I think, see some snow. It will snow, and there'll be some ice pellets pinging off your windows, and rain. It'll all be mixed in. A few slushy and slick spots developing. I think the low is going to straddle the freezing mark. So between 31 and 33 degrees, I think, will be the overnight low. Winter weather advisory is up for Hartford and Litchfield County. But Saturday, once the sun's up, it's all rain. Flood watch up for Saturday and Saturday night. Rain heavy at times, accumulating up 2 to 3 inches of rainfall, causing flooding of the streams and small rivers. The big rivers will flood too, but they can hold it better than the smaller ones. The rain will be coming to an end, I think, around midnight, Saturday night into Sunday morning. Sunday, we'll see skies becoming mainly sunny. It'll be breezy, temperatures in the 40s, but with the wind, it's going to make it feel like a chilly day out there. Monday and Tuesday, I think the winds relax. Monday is mostly sunny, temperatures in the 40s, so it'll feel better with less wind. And then Tuesday, partly sunny and temperatures in the 40s. And again, Dan, ski areas are going to do well. If you're a skier and you want to head up on Sunday or Monday, if you can get it off, Mount Snow should end up with about 4 to 8 inches of snow in southern Vermont. When you get to about Stratton and up to Okemo, I'm thinking 8 to 12 inches of snow. And then when you get north of that, north of Okemo, say places like Killington and Sugar Bush and Jay Peak, I think they're all going to get 12 to 18 inches of snow. So big rains here, big snow in northern New England.
All right, my friend. Well, to our skiers, have a great weekend if you can get out and ski. And to you and Sandy and our podcast audience, have a tremendous weekend.
Thank you, Dan. To you and Susan, I wish you the very best.
Thanks, Brad. The Brad Field Weather Podcast has been underwritten by McAllen Construction. McAllen Construction, from the first dig to the last nail.